Thanks for joining us today on The Perfect X. My name is Sherry, and this is my co host, Leigh.
Hello.
And today we are doing part three and the final part of the questions that were sent in. But that said, if there are more questions, please send them to The Perfect X, and that's just the letter X at hotmail.com, or you could DM us on the perfect underscore X, and that's just the letter X again, and we will do another question series.
Absolutely. That I will turn from a one-parter into a three-parter.
Yes. Well, you did that with this one. We have six last questions, so we'll get them
I could get 2 episodes out of
done. I know you do talk a lot. You do. All right. So, first question. What do you do if all your family and friends hate the girl or guy you're dating?
I'm sure you've had, well, actually, your parents are pretty chill. I don't know if you've ever run into that.
No, I actually found out like after I broke up with a guy, like way after I dated him for like a year on and off kind of thing, that they never liked him. But like it
Oh,
was like months after. And then I found out like nobody in my family liked him. And I was like, well, nobody told me. Like, but yeah, I mean, have you ever run across that?
no, not really. I can try to think. But no, I don't really think I've dated anyone that my friends and family weren't super keen on, luckily.
I think that this is a kind of a tricky question. Like I again, like you brought this up a couple episodes ago, and I would think you would see this more from friends, but I have seen siblings be very rival like, so it could happen within your family as well.
Hmm.
I think that if it depends on how and why you think they're saying it. Like
Yeah.
you said it before, like there are some haters that just want you to stay single.
Hmm.
And I think that you have to really assess the situation. Like, if it's somebody that always hates everybody you date, or is it someone that's pretty respectful? Like, I had, I mean, I've shared this story before, but I had a boyfriend before, and I had a friend who actually got along with everybody.
Hmm.
And he pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I'm not a big fan of this guy." And he gave me pretty valid reasons. But that was kind of it. Like, he didn't push it any further. He was always kind to the person.
Hmm.
And I took into consideration what he said. I chose to continue to date him, but I was aware. I appreciate how he came about it.
Yeah.
Uh, But if everybody, and later it's funny because he was someone who said it to me nicely, but I found out later like everyone had hated him, like no one liked him.
Oh.
And I don't know, like I think when you're hearing it over and over, but it depends on who's saying it and how they're saying it and
Yeah,
what are they
if
saying.
your friend isn't like a notorious complainer and it's just like, hey, like, this is what I think about this situation, but they're not excuse me, they're not renowned for complaining about it, a lot of things, then it would obviously have more impact, right? You'd be like, oh, that's strange, that person to speak out about something, right?
Yeah, or are they someone who just can't get along with anyone, and so they also hate this person? What are their valid reasons? Like, it has to really come down to it. And if everyone's saying something, though, if it's everybody that hates that person, you also should wonder why and take into consideration what they're saying, but it shouldn't decipher whether you date the person or not. Like, I decided to date that individual with some pretty red flags. I mean, there were a lot of people who did tell me they didn't like him, but they were people that they weren't like to me very close friends or anything.
Yeah.
They were actually his close friends,
Yeah.
but but
Interesting curveball.
I know it was an interesting curveball, but I didn't care what they had to say.
The
So I
reverse
chose to
wingman.
date him. Yeah. Oh yeah, they were cock blockers like you've never seen.
I can't, I'm trying to think of an example of even someone I know that was dating someone that we all didn't care for, but nothing comes to mind really. But yeah, I'm sure it's common, but it's in my circle. I haven't really, I suppose it's
Yeah.
different if you're like casually dating, like you go on a few dates with someone versus like like you're actually dating them.
But you should listen, I think. I think you should
Yeah.
make your own assessment and make your own choice.
Yeah.
But if they're saying it in a kind way and not like, "Oh, he's a fucking asshole," or but like when someone brings valid points. I went out with this guy a couple times and I brought a girlfriend of mine out with me. This is like in LA. So it was nothing serious, just hung out with this guy. And I brought a girlfriend out with me one night. And my girlfriend like never complains, never has a problem with anyone. And she didn't even really say anything. She just kind of was, like, not her normal self, and then I asked after, I'm like, "He's not really for me, is he?" And she's like, "Yeah, I didn't really wanna say it, like, he's a little bit too showboaty and too arrogant for you."
Yeah, he
And
has
I
too much, not enough wealth.
he had a lot of wealth. That was why he was arrogant.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, yeah.
You
No,
can
I know,
excuse
that's
a
why
certain amount of arrogance if you've got a nice car or something, right, you know?
I was trying to excuse it, let's put it that way, but she brought up valid points, and she didn't shove it in my face, and she kinda left me to make the decision, and I made the decision after t not after that specific time of hanging out, but after a little bit more. I was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to ignore these things, these don't go with my lifestyle." So, it wasn't that her voice made me make a decision. I appreciated what she said because what she was pointing out were things that were very reflective of my lifestyle and my feelings. They weren't like her opinion of him based on what she wants for me. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and that's good
So I
if you
think,
know that you can trust the person's opinion to be what's in your best interest, right? Yeah.
but I always say if everyone's saying it, there's usually something there,
Yeah,
so you
yeah,
should hear it and be aware, right?
yeah. Or like if you like you say that you maybe have mutual friends and they're like, "Oh, like he's a nice enough guy, but like not really dating material," for whatever reason, you know?
Yeah. I once had a guy I was dating, and actually you've met him. I was on and off with him for years, and his dad actually told me, "What are you doing with my son? You could do so much better."
Wow.
But but that's the only other everyone else actually loved him. He was one of the nicest people I've ever known. And he's so chill and so easy going. You loved everyone loved him. Like there was no issue with him, but he was like going absolutely nowhere in life. Like he had
Yeah.
no ambition, like slept till like 2 in the afternoon, like just didn't care. Like
Yeah, yeah.
but but yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I think it's good though to have some people you can trust to give you honest feedback because there is things you don't see yourself that other people see from the outside looking in, right?
Yeah, but I also have to you really and I know I've said it before, but really take the time to assess, are they reflecting their own opinions of what they would want for you and what they think is right for you, or what they, knowing your personality and knowing you, are suggesting things. Like when my girlfriend pulled me aside, and I mean, I pointed out, she said it. She was right. Like I'm not someone like he was so arrogant. He kind of caused fights everywhere he went because he had to always be right.
Mhm.
I'm not someone who likes that type of energy. So when she was saying something to me, it was very reflective of my lifestyle, and it was very true to me, and not like her being like, "Oh, I don't want to hang out with him." It
Right.
wasn't
Yeah.
anything to do. So really
Yeah.
assess what people are saying and see if
Cons-
it's
consider the source, right?
yeah, consider the source and consider the opinion, right?
Yeah, like yeah, I don't. I'm trying to think of any of my like we. I said I had a group before where there was a friend that kind of wanted to keep the party going and whatever, and they would tend to find reasons to be difficult with new if anyone brought like a significant other into the group. It wasn't direct, but you could tell there was some friction and whatever. But I would never consider what they had to say because I'm like, I know your intention is you just want to keep on partying, right? Like, so I don't think that they're just kind of like they just want to keep everybody single and having a good time, right? But I think if the person is someone that has your best interests at heart and you can take their opinion seriously, that's a different story, right?
Exactly, exactly. And also, like, you know, if it's like you always have it when it's a group effort. Like you say that there was one guy like that, but imagine all of those guys felt like he convinced like three other guys to feel the same way. So all four of them are coming at you. You should really consider where that information is coming and what that information is, like
Yeah.
what are their intent? Because sometimes that could become a group mentality. And when you think all your friends doesn't like your significant other, what's the source of the situation, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
All right, next one. My boyfriend and I have zero of the same interests in the things we like to do, but I hate that he never partakes in anything with me. And what should I do? Actually, this is pretty reflective to you because your wife is like girly and does
Mhm.
cute homey stuff, and you're like taking your car four wheeling. And I know she goes with you,
Yeah.
but you guys have pretty, I mean, she dresses nice and you don't. So, I mean, your
Facts.
interests are pretty different. So, this is a good one for you. How do
Yeah,
you guys mesh all of that?
my one pair of jeans has got battery acid holes in it now, so I have to hit up the 725
Jesus.
originals at Walmart. The
Jesus, Jesus.
yeah, we we didn't like specifically have activities we like doing together like, in the sense of like playing softball or something specific, but we always like, going for walks and like going out for lunch and like dinking around like that. But then we've come to find things over the years, like inadvertently, that we both like doing, like the outdoorsy stuff. Like we do a lot of four wheeling, and we go. Getting smashed around in the truck isn't necessarily like her favorite thing to do, but like we can go on like more milder trails and to fun destinations. So like we kind of find something we both want to do within that hobby. So that's a lot of what we've been doing. Like I've been like, oh well, I'm not going to go like smash around in the rocks all day, but like let's go to this lake, or let's go to this lookout or whatever. And we kind of just happened into this hobby together, right? Like I used to four wheel a lot years ago, and then I got out of it for a long time, and then I happened sort of back into it because I sort of inherited this vehicle, and I kind of like, I don't know, restored it, whatever, put it back to running, and I was just going to bum around town with it, and just go to the store on weekends or whatever. And because it's an off road vehicle, I started just dabbling in that during COVID because there was nothing else to do, and it kind of just led into this big sort of joint hobby. But yeah, we always just found things. I know a lot of people say to me like, "Oh, you're lucky you and your wife like four wheeling together." I am, but a lot of people, I'm sure you could find things to do that you both enjoy that aren't necessarily like a hobby, like I would just, as long as you can enjoy spending time together, it doesn't really matter that you both don't play on a softball team or whatnot, right?
So what do you guys do? Like, for instance, she dances. Like on those
Yeah.
days, you just accept the fact that that's something that she's going to do,
Yeah.
and you're gonna have to find either something else to do during that time, or, um, I mean, what else would
Yeah,
your
we
option
do a
be?
lot of stuff together, but we also I think the mistake in a lot of relationships early on is like making it out like you have to do everything together and enjoy
Yeah.
everything together, and then you're like all of us, oh well, he doesn't like this and I don't like that. It doesn't matter. Like Tara and I will find stuff we like doing together, and then the stuff that we like doing separately, we'll do it separately, right? Like we
And
have separate lives too.
I guess the biggest thing for that is just respecting and not trying to guilt the person while they're doing the things that they love doing
Yeah,
separately.
like I've tried to do some things with her that I don't like. Like for example, she's going to a party in the next little while here, and they invited both of us, and I was like, I'm really become very sort of I don't like crowds and like noise and stuff anymore. It's like sort of, I don't know if it's an anxiety thing or like some other stuff too, but I tend to like sort of steer away from like busy crowded things. And so anyway, I said, I don't think I'm going to go, but it's all her friends and their significant others, and she's like, yeah, okay, like I get it, if you want to come, you've been invited, but if you don't think that it's something you're up to, no problem. We tend to just accept that the person's either going to come or not going to come.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That actually sounds like a great way of dealing with it. It's kind of finding something that you both like to do, so they don't this person's, like, kinda asking, like, they don't wanna partake in anything. So it's like maybe
Yeah.
you're suggesting things that are really far-fetched from what they
Yes.
wanna do.
Yeah, you got to
So
find some middle ground
some
that
middle
you
ground.
both enjoy. I mean, even if it's something simple like going for lunch or going for a walk. Like we started out just going for walks and going for lunch, and going out with friends to, we go to various bars or different activities, go up to the local place where we have bonfires and stuff. And it was never like a big, so I think people put too much emphasis on
The
doing everything
jointness.
together.
Yeah.
And I specifically see this in like new relationships where like they're often from like sort of families that are, I don't know, it's like mixed families or whatever they call it, like where it's like step brothers and sisters and step parents and all that. They tend to like overdo it with the importance of like doing everything together. For some reason, it's like doing things together is great and important, but it's fine to do things without certain people. And it's like, and the only people in secure relationships wouldn't care. Like it's people that are trying to
That's
like, you know what I
Tha
mean? Like make a
that's
big fuss out of it.
exactly it. That's exactly I think Hollywood has kind of given us the idea that there's like a soulmate, and a soulmate would do everything with you and have all the same interests and have
Yes.
all the same likes, but that's not really the reality. Like, the reality is that you can really connect with someone and have completely different interests and find a way to have some commonality, but
Yeah.
you just have to respect the time that person needs to continue doing the things that they enjoy otherwise,
Yeah,
and
and I
then
think it's
partake
important to
you
set
can.
those boundaries early because I think the problem is everyone gets in the honeymoon phase. And I remember when I was young, like you'd start dating someone, and I'm sure you have maybe found the same. Like you kind of become like all about them for like a little while,
Mhm,
and then
mhm.
you don't like you kind of let your own stuff slip. And then when you sort of come out of the honeymoon phase and you want to kind of get back to reality, it's like the other person's like shocked that you have all these other things going on in your life, because you kind of put them on the back burner for a while. So it's important to be like keep your things like my wife's dance stuff, I would never expect her like not to go.
Exactly.
It's important, but I think it's easy to put your wants and needs on the back burner for a while, but then like the honeymoon phase is over, and then everybody's getting all excited and wants to go out and back to what they were doing before, and then the other person's like doesn't know what to do because that wasn't what had been going on so far, right?
Exactly, and there's also one thing too, and I'm actually learning this a lot because I used to, and I do this with friendships too, like, just in general. I used to only do the things I like to do, and, like, that was it. You couldn't get me to do stuff outside of what I wanted to do.
Yeah,
And one thing I've learned is if you really care about someone, the compromise is actually sometimes going, not like, what I mean sometimes, like, find an activity that you don't mind tolerating, and it's not that big of an ask. Like, she's
yeah,
not asking you to take a dance class with her, but
no,
she can ask you, like, I know that she used to love going to Target, so I'm sure she dragged you on some Target with trips, and you
yeah,
just
yeah.
found a way to that. Yes, it's not your favorite highlight thing to do, but
Hmm.
you will be patient and kind and go with her every once in a while, and that's
Yeah,
important,
or
and I
find
think
something in there like within that hobby that you enjoy, like going to Target. Like I can go bum around the electronics, or like with kids, it's a whole other thing. But even just as two individuals, like she wants to do certain things, I'll go and I'll just try and make the best of it for my own interest too, or
exactly, because it's
but it's
not a
not
big
something horrible.
ask.
Like yeah, it's not a big
It's not a
ask.
big ask. It's not a big ask. She's not asking you to take a dance class with something so outside of your comfort zone. She's just asking you to join her in something that's a little leisure and a little different. Like, I have a friend, I love walking. I could walk for like 5 hours and have no
Mhm.
problem. And I have a friend who they enjoy walking as well, but she needs like a coffee break. Like, if we're walking, like if I'll walk, for instance, like to run an errand in LA, I'll walk like an hour to the place and back, and I won't have to stop.
Mhm.
She'll come with me, but when she does join me, she needs to, like, stop and have a coffee, and we need, like, 45 minutes to an hour of just relaxing before heading back. She doesn't like
Right.
the continuous.
Mhm.
And it's, like, kind of finding a middle ground of something that she doesn't mind, it's not so far out of her ass to do
Yeah.
and join me, but, at the same time, I have to compromise on my end too. Like, I rather just go and come back. I hate
Mhm.
the sitting part, but she also needs a break. So she doesn't care to walk that much. So it's a compromise in between. And then I have another friend who absolutely will not walk unless it's like perfect temperature at all times. And I
Yeah.
have just accepted it. Like, I don't ask her to walk. And instead, she only likes to go for coffee. So even though we live right next to each other, I walk there, she drives there. And that's
Yeah.
the compromise. It's just like finding a way to do something that you both can, it may be not your favorite thing, but you both
Mhm.
enjoy at some level or can tolerate some level, and finding a compromise in between.
Yeah, I
And I
think it's
think that's so
definitely
important.
doable. Like you
Yeah.
say, going to the mall or whatever. I really don't care for going to the mall, but I can find something to do there, and yeah, I just think people put too much emphasis on doing everything together. It's
Yes.
particularly, like I said, I find that very particularly with people that are like a sort of a blended family or whatever they call it. Like I feel like like I a friend of mine I grew up with, he had divorced parents, and they had new parents remarried, and he had a couple siblings and whatever, step siblings, and they would have very high expectations of the kids. Like the kids had their own kids, towards this time in the story, and there was some expectation that they would have to be at the parents' house like every Sunday for dinner or whatever the day was. And I was like, what is the issue with this? Like you're like he was around my age, so we were probably in our early 20s, and all his siblings were older, and a few of them were married with kids and whatever. And it was this big expectation that he had to be back on Sunday for this family dinner. I'm like, what is the deal with this? Like, I've never come across this with like other families. Like
Where there's
it's nice to
guilt.
have a family dinner on occasion, but
Yeah.
this expectation, and with the kids having their own kids and lives and everything else, he ended up moving away eventually. And I don't know if it was in part to get away from that, but it always seemed to be, that just overcompensating for like the sort of broken home thing. They're like trying to just absolutely overdo it. Whereas people in like a sort of a standard
Healthy
upbringing,
environment.
normal, healthy. They just, we try to get together when we can. Like my parents would be like, "Oh, let's everybody come here for this thing," and then if you can't, you can't. Like it sucks, but what do you do? But like this is,
It's like you're comfortable and you know that there's enough love and there's enough respect and care for one another that you don't need to go out of your way to prove it every time.
yeah, exactly. And it's
It's like,
just that trickles into other relationships where you're just
yeah.
just let them be. Like, I don't my wife wants to go to a party with her friends, and I'm not that interested in going. I just don't see the problem in that. It's fine. She's fine with it. I'm fine with it. Like, she wants me to go, but she's like, if you're not up for it, like, I'm like, no, like, maybe I will, like, if it's sort of an open invite, like, I might decide in the moment that I can tag along for a bit, but I don't want you to feel like you have to leave early because I don't want to be here, right?
So there's no guilt and there's no deep like expectation. There's no insecurity in it. So that's
No, yeah.
fantastic. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
and then her
Yeah.
dance, like, I go and watch it, like, they have sort of a show every quarter or whenever they do it, and I'll just go, and I know a couple of the other husbands now through various, channels and stuff, so, yeah, I'll go and tag along and check that out, and, yeah, it's just like you say, it's a compromise thing, like, I wouldn't wanna be there you can't go watch the practices anyway, but I wouldn't wanna go every week, but to go see what they've been working on every few months or whatever is interesting, and they put on a big show and all that, and yeah, it's just finding some sort of way to enjoy anything like a bit for each. And I'm sure most people can find something they like about, like, even if you were here and you're like, I'm absolutely not into like 4x4. I'm like, well, let's go in the thing and I'll just take you somewhere not far. It's sort of a smooth road. It's not like really treacherous, and it's a cool spot to hang out. You know what I mean? Like, you check out a view or whatever. It would be very mild on the sense of what I normally would do, but it would be enough that you could dip your toe in there and you'd still enjoy it. Wouldn't get car sick and tossed around and all that kind of stuff, right?
There's a compromise. Yeah, makes
Yeah,
sense.
so
Makes
I
sense.
think there's lots of things like that where you just find a bit of a compromise and don't put so much emphasis on being joined at the hip and doing absolutely everything together because that's just weird. Like these
It
idiot
really is an
couples,
insecurity.
like
It
I see
is an
these couples
insecurity.
on they make TikToks. I don't have TikTok, but they come up on Instagram. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, these guys are out of like this so beyond normal behavior, right? It's like, just don't be so concerned with how it may look or whatever. Just do what works for you.
Well, I always say you have no idea what's behind the picture. Like Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston were on vacation getting photographed, and the next day he left her for Angelina Jolie. Like, you
Yeah.
really have no idea,
But some
right?
people put way too much emphasis on what things appear to be.
What was the saying we grew up with? Big truck, small penis.
Yeah.
It's the showboating, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
just enjoy your life, be in the moment. There's nothing wrong with taking pictures and doing whatever, but like don't
As long as
focus so
it's
much on.
natural to you. As long as
Yeah,
it's
well, I
just
know people
natural.
that are having like a full-on blowout and then they're posting happy yay pictures on
Oh.
Instagram at the same fucking time. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
within the
yeah.
same like few hours, right? Like, oh, my wife's such a bitch, and then it's like, oh, we're here at such and such brewing or whatever. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here, right? Like, just be authentic. You don't have to worry about what it looks like. And I don't worry if my wife's going to this dance party and I'm not going. I'm not like, oh my god, I got to stand there and make sure no one hits on her or something like that, right?
Exactly,
That just,
exactly.
yeah.
The next one is I don't love my girlfriend, but I hate being alone. I don't know what to do. Well, fuck, I can answer this
Yeah,
easily.
fucking open and shut case. I don't
Break
yeah,
up.
I think a lot of people do wait for they want to have almost someone in the pipeline before they break it off with the last person.
That's awful. I think
Yeah, but it's so common, right? You've got to have come across that 'cause I think I see that all the time.
you know what it's kind of crazy is in the Vancouver culture, and I don't want to be like blasted for saying this, but I saw this a lot in Vancouver culture, a lot. Like especially when winter rolled around and people knew they were going to start going inside a lot.
Yeah,
They they just
true.
they just like fucking dealt with it, and then come summer they would just replace that person. And I
Yes.
think that that is speaks volumes of how much you need to work on yourself and you need to be alone um than be in another relationship because it's just a cycle that continues. And the people I know that are like that have continued that cycle throughout their lives. So
Yeah.
uh,
It's literally a Vancouver thing. Like I was listening to a song today and I was going to bring it up to you and I'm like it's just so it must be true of this area or any area where like there is sort of inside and outside seasons or whatever, but like um it's so crazy that people seem to want to hang on to the last relationship until they've literally got the next one.
replacements.
We used to say like bed hopping or whatever, right? You know what I mean? Like it's like you're not even being single, like you just waiting for the next thing to come along before you cut the cord on the last thing.
And it never stops. That cycle never stops. That person has no idea how to be by themselves and they have no idea who they even are as an individual.
Yeah.
This like speaks volumes that you should break up, be
Well, I
alone.
just
And
looked up the
I hate
lyrics for this.
users.
I just looked up the
Cool.
lyrics for this song that I was listening to, and it's from a Vancouver group too. And it's
Oh, shut
I
up.
won't go, yeah, but I won't go through all of it. But the part that stood out to me that speaks to what we're talking about now. It said, "No more looking into your eyes, no more staring into the sky. I only asked if I could stay from December until May."
Yes, yeah, but that is true. That is true because once the weather gets good, people are, like, back into summer vibes, and
Yeah,
they're
out
all into being
socializing and stuff.
yeah, and they replace that person real fucking
The
quick
holidays
until
are
the
over,
next
that
winter.
kind of thing. Yeah.
But that's funny, it's funny it's a Vancouver group. Yeah,
But it
so
is,
this
man. Like,
person
it's so true. Like, I know lots of people that were like, like they were pretty much looking for a new significant other, and they were definitely still with somebody else.
yeah, I haven't really seen it in LA. I mean, I that's why I can't speak about LA. My LA friends are not like that, and maybe
I
because
think,
the weather's good all
or it's just it's just like a self
around.
confidence. Like, if you're comfortable with not, with being alone, it's not a problem. But some people, to speak to the question that you read, is like, you're obviously not okay with being alone, and I would look into that a lot more than
Yeah,
I would look
yeah.
into the band-aid repair of having another relationship. It's like, you
Mm,
really need to think about why you can't be alone.
exactly, exactly. All right, next one. My girlfriend wants us to have an open relationship, but I'm strongly opposed to this. Should I try it out or break up? Oh, what
I
would you do?
mean, I think if you break up, you're obviously that's over. I think if you tried it and you're most likely to break up, at least you can say you tried it. But it wouldn't work for me. Like, a lot of people I think would just not be comfortable with it. But I have come across people that they went into it sort of reluctantly, but seemed to like kind of take to it. They kind of warmed up to it a little bit, but it's like, I think generally speaking, it's you're either into it or you're not, and it's more. I would imagine it's more because you aren't that thrilled with your current partner.
Well, I actually know somebody who's like really in love with their current partner, but they have an open. I'm strongly opposed to it too because I don't.
Yeah,
I'm not like because I'm a jealous person. I don't want like whole point of being a relationship. Otherwise, I just wouldn't be in one. But if
yeah,
I was
yeah.
in one, for me personally, it's to be with that person.
But I think a
So
lot
I
of it is the people that don't want to be alone, but
or
still
like
want to do whatever they want, right?
so it's kind of interesting because I always wondered what the whole concept, like why someone would want an open relationship. And I recently with someone that I've known pretty much my whole life, and it was really interesting because I was like, I don't understand why, if you're so in love with someone, you need an open relationship. And he's like, it spices things up and they're really into it and they're really interested in it. And
Mhm.
I don't understand the concept, but for him it had no difference on how he felt for his significant other. Whereas
Yeah,
I
and if
come
you
to the
both are
same
into it, that's different though, right? You know what I mean? The
exact
question is more
well,
specifically like, I'm not into it. It's like, well, it ain't gonna fly. But yeah, I'm sure it works for a lot of people who are both into it. Or maybe they
well
meet in those circumstances too, right?
and I would be I perceive it, and that's how I would feel if someone came to me with it. I would feel like I'm not enough, and I don't want to
Yeah.
ever be in a situation where I constantly feel not enough. So even trying it wouldn't make me feel good.
Yeah,
So
it wouldn't work for me either. I wouldn't try it, but like, if yeah, I agree. Like, it
I
wouldn't
think
work
it
for
would
me, and I
make
know that.
me insecure, and I'm not an insecure person. And I think it would actually make me very, very felt devalued and not enough. And I know that for me personally, even trying it out would just chip away at my self-worth, and I would never
Yeah.
put myself in that situation. So,
Yeah.
I
There's
think if you're
certain things
opposed
that
to
are
it
worth trying, and certain things deep down aren't gonna work for you, then there's no sense in trying it.
and I would say that things that are so embedded in how they would affect that relationship, like having another person in it, is really, really changes a dynamic relationship. If it's not for you and you're really against it, I would just break up and move on because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
very hard to be with people who have completely different values than yourself.
Yeah, and I
I
think more often than not, if someone's suggesting an open relationship, they're just not happy in the relationship. I'm
well,
sure there's exceptions. I'm sure there's people that identify with that whatever subculture is of like having three people or four people in like a committed relationship, just the three to four of you. But I think most people, I would say majority of people that are suggesting that type of thing are just not into the relationship
Well,
they're in.
that's what you just I completely forgot about this too, and I just reminded when you say that. I also know somebody else, I'm not very close with them, I just know them. They prior to COVID were telling me how much they want to divorce and they can't stand their husband, blah, 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 and I hadn't seen this person for years, and then I bump into them somewhere, and I was like, "Oh, I saw, like, you're still with your significant other, and it looks like you guys are really happy." She's like, "Yeah, we got into an open relationship, and now flew around with other people and we dated other people. And then but then she like talked so poorly of her husband, and I just saw it as someone who wasn't happy. And then I told her, I said, it sounds like all you did is find a way to financially stay with him
Yeah.
and tolerate him. And
Yeah.
she didn't say anything. She just never really spoke to me again after
Because
that.
it's not really like a
Yeah.
proper open relationship. Like if you love the
Yeah.
person and you want to do whatever you're doing, but if you just like you got kids together and it's a big fucking mess to like divorce and it's not worth the aggro, like you
And
want to just you know
I
keep
told her, I'm like, it sounds like you're just prolonging a divorce. Like, I
yes.
hope if money is your number one problem, I hope you're stashing some away because it's gonna happen,
Yeah.
like, and the
Yeah.
thing is, in that situation, I know that the guy probably didn't feel valued by her because they're probably, like, from what I know, they're not that kind to one another. The thing is, you're also putting him in a place that maybe he meets some other girl and she treats him right and he leaves you anyways. So it's a very
Yeah.
sticky situation to be in. But again, I'm telling you, I've heard both perspectives. Again, it's not for me. If it's not for you, and
Yeah.
you know,
It's basically you got to separate it between is that the kind of lifestyle you're into or is it not? Because if you're not, if you're like
exactly.
you or I and someone suggests that to you, it's a
I'm
hell
out.
no. If you're
Hell.
an open person that is whatever, but the way the question is phrased is the person's not interested in that, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I would just there's no fucking way, right? Isn't it? Like you don't need to get kicked in the throat to know you won't like
That's true.
it.
That is true. Okay, I caught my friend's girlfriend cheating. Do I tell them? Ooh.
No,
What? Really?
it's bro code.
You wouldn't, but you saw your friend cheating. Like, sorry, you saw your friend's girlfriend, not your friend cheating.
Oh, maybe I misunderstood the question
Yeah, yeah.
as
No, I
usual.
don't think I would say anything. I actually have a lot of friends that cheat. I don't
Yeah,
think
I
they,
would say something to my
but
friend. I'm like, "Yo, you gotta get your shit in a pile because I saw you, so other people are gonna see you and whatever, whatever. It's not my place to get in your business, but you should fucking do something
but
about it, right?"
but that's not the question. The question is, if you see your friend's significant other cheating on them, do you tell them?
Right, right, right. Yeah, that's greasy too, but what do you I don't know. I feel like I would maybe like say it was my friend and I saw his girlfriend cheating on him. I'd have to think about it, but I can't help but think I maybe would go to her first and be like, "Listen, you got to fucking deal with this." And like, I didn't want to be in this secret, but now I'm in it. So like, you better sort it out. You know what I mean? Like, come clean with him or break up with him or do whatever you're gonna do. But I'm
So
not shutting my trap forever. Like, you know what I mean?
you would confront her and give her an ultimatum. Okay.
I think so.
I
I've never been in the position, but I feel like if I was put in that position and it was like a serious relationship or whatever, I feel like I would probably say something to her and try to push it in the right direction because inevitably something's got to get said. Like they got to break up or solve their problems. So
yeah.
I'd be like, I feel like I would maybe put the heat on her. I don't know if I would. I don't
But
know.
what
It's
if
hard to
months
say.
went by? Would you actually say it? Like, to me, it depends on how close I am with the person.
Yeah,
I
and then
have a
you're like,
lot
"Well,
of
why didn't
friends.
you tell me 3 months ago?" Fuck, I don't know. Yeah, it's tough to say. I don't know what I would do. I think I'd like to think I would go after the person and say, "Hey, what the fuck?" And then, tell them or I'm gonna or something, but I have no idea what I would really do. I don't know.
So in Vancouver, I'm again in LA. I don't have any friends that cheat. No, I don't think so. But I don't. Not that I can think off the top of my head. In Vancouver, a lot of my friends cheated, and I
Mhm.
even had like their significant other ask me about it, and I was like, I have no idea. I never said anything when it was my friend. When it
Yeah.
was the other way around, and I caught the person, if the person was very close with me, like if it's someone I actually considered my friend, I would say something, like someone that's very, very close to me. Like if it's one of my inner circle people, I would definitely fucking say something. Like if
Yeah.
it was
I
you,
think
I
it's kind
would,
of expected.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would say it. But if it's someone that I'm like casual friends with that we hang out with here and there, then no, it's not my fucking business and let them figure their own shit out. I never saw it. I'm blind.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm so
all good.
torn between like I just don't like ratting about anything. I just don't like it's just to the grave, right? But I agree there's certain instances where like I would expect someone to tell me, if they knew
It
something
has
like
to be
that,
inner circle because if you're not
Yeah.
in the inner circle, that person's gonna get embarrassed that you told them and they're gonna somehow blame you for it anyways. Like that's the way
Yeah.
I see it. Like I know that if I went to like you, not that it would ever happen to you, but like you or like my best friends here,
Mhm.
if I told them like and when you're that close with someone, like the people I talk to like almost every day, the people that really know your ins and outs,
Yeah.
yes, I would tell them. But if it's not that close with them and you like I have seen situations where like someone told this girl I know, but we're all like casual friends. Like I don't know the ins and out of that girl's relationship. I don't know like anything really about them besides the fact that we all go for dinner like once a month all together. So I don't really know the whole story, and so therefore I'm not going to say anything because I know for a fact that they're most likely to get embarrassed and pissed or whatever.
Yeah.
They're not we're not that close, and it's none of my fucking business. So I think if it's your inner circle and you know who's in your inner circle, yes, tell them. If your friend's a cheater, I like the people that I know that cheat, I tell them like I think they're really insecure and they've got a lot of fucking issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they need to work on themselves and they need to break up with their significant other, but I'm not that close with their significant other. I know them because of them and I don't get involved. It's not my
Yeah.
place.
I have a semi-related question. And do you find that in the era of social media, like if you meet someone that has no social media, for example, is that like a red flag? Like they're probably married and whatever
Uh,
else?
it's actually happened to me quite a few times where they were married.
Yeah, I'm sure. And then the likes of the people that don't have social media, it's like, well, that's just the worst thing for someone that's being dishonest is social media because you get tagged in photos and all the rest of it, and you can't hide.
So, okay, here's the thing. So I don't judge it because I think like I'm not a very big social media. Yes, I know I post and stuff, but like I got on Instagram like slightly before COVID. And before that I was Facebook, yes, I'm all about it because I'm old school. But
I feel like
then
Facebook's losing momentum. I feel like I
it,
hardly
it's
use it.
lost. It's definitely lost momentum. But
I
I'm
don't
just saying
post
like
anything on Facebook. Like, I only have Facebook for Marketplace.
exactly well, and really honestly no one but your grandma uses Facebook.
Yeah.
But but I had it because I moved to LA, and the only reason I kept that up was because that was, like, a lot of people, for instance, that I talked to from Vancouver because it was long distance charges, they would just use Facebook Messenger, so I just kept it
Right.
up, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. Same.
Um, but I got Instagram so late in the game, so I don't actually think it's a big deal, even though it's happened to me quite a few times where the guy was married and I find out later, whatever, but I still don't judge it. I don't think it's that big a deal. There's a lot of people like if you ask me to get on fucking TikTok, I mean, I'm trying to for the podcast. I'd rather kill myself. I've
Yeah.
never used Twitter. I don't understand the concept of it.
But like no
Snapchat.
social media at all is not you don't find that to be a red flag?
I don't think, but I do know people, like especially my guy friends, if it's a girl with no social media, they think it's like the biggest red flag ever. They think like every girl has to be on it. But at the same time, I like my one of my best girlfriends, she's so private and she's married. Like she absolutely has no social media. She doesn't post anything. She's had 2 kids. Her Facebook has been updated since like Facebook came out. Like she
Yeah,
opened the
yeah.
account.
Yeah.
She doesn't have Instagram at all. Like when we would all sit together, she would maybe scroll through my Instagram or her husband's Instagram. She just doesn't have it. She has no fucking interest in it. She's like moved on in life and it's just not, she's like a lawyer and she's got her kids and she's got her life and she doesn't give a fuck to post on there.
Yeah.
And so she doesn't have, she's never had Instagram. So
I think I do
I,
admire people like that, but I think the chances are higher that the person is up to no good than it is that they don't want social media. And I believe you're in your friend's situation. I 100% believe she just doesn't want anything to do with social media.
oh, of course. I mean, she's home
But
all the
I
time.
I
She's not doing
think
anything.
I would my money if I met a guy who was single and had absolutely jack shit social media, my suspicions would be that he's up to something.
Well, I don't know if it's a case anymore, but back in the day, and don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that back in the day, because I think I had to open Instagram for one of the dating apps, but back in the day, you couldn't have a dating app unless you had social media.
Oh.
And now I don't know if that's still the case. So if it's on a dating app, it is a little sus, but
Mm,
at the same time, if I meet someone out and about and they don't have it, I don't really think about it a lot. I don't think it's a big deal because, like I said, I have my girlfriend who doesn't. But again, I do know people who are very suspect about it. I think that it would make someone more curious.
yeah,
Um,
it would raise an
you know,
eyebrow or two, but this is obviously there's lots of legitimate reasons for not having, like some people
having,
like
yeah.
police officers and whatever, they don't want their business online, right?
Well, that's exactly it too. Like I know cops that have completely, if they do have it, they have completely different names on there. But
Right.
again, exactly that's it. Like you don't really know the reason, or like I know people like there's a couple of people that moved to LA I know that want to have nothing to do with their families. So I know that they have like fake Instagrams with nothing on it. So there's nothing to
Oh
post,
yeah.
no name, no whatever. They just scroll on it. So that's another thing. Like they don't actually have Instagram. So if they met some girl on the street, they're not going to actually give them their Instagram because there's nothing on there. Like, you know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
have a fake Finsta and they just use it to scroll. So I do know people with it, and it doesn't make my eyebrow raise. I'm learning to question further and look at the other aspects of that person if they don't have it,
Yeah.
because it's happened to me quite a few times. But
Yeah. And they might have, like,
I
say, they might offer a pretty legitimate reason, like, up front, like, oh, I have, my sister's a cop or something, or, like, whatever, I'm a cop, or, or whatever it might be. Like, there might even be, like, certain jobs, government jobs or whatever, where, like, you can cross the line inadvertently on some social media conduct. So people just don't have it.
I put it this way, I consider this like, in Vancouver, you always say if you see someone with 2 cell phones, they're definitely a drug dealer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, if I see someone with 2 cell phones in LA, and I have, like, a girlfriend who works, she has her company phone, and she wants that when she's off of work, she does not want them to reach her, so she's
Yeah.
kept her own phone.
Yeah. Me too.
So,
Yeah.
it's the same thing, like, if I see 2 cell phones, I'm gonna be more suspect, but I'm gonna give it a chance and look into the situation.
That's interesting. I didn't even think about that. I've always had two phones for the last probably 15 years.
But that's exactly it. If you were in Vancouver back in the day, you would just say, "Oh, that's a drug dealer." So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think having no Instagram is the same thing. Like, you're gonna be more suspect of that person. You're gonna look into the situation a little more, but you're not gonna, like, right away
It's
be
not
like,
definitive. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Do we
yeah.
get through all the questions then? Is that it?
No, we have one last one, and
Fucking
then
let her
we'll
rip,
we'll
baby.
and this is a good one.
I'm sure it
Okay.
is.
I I met this guy online, and we are okay, sorry. I met this guy online, and we are 3 dates in. I really like him, but I know based on one of his pictures, I've gone out with one of his friends before. Just on 2 dates, and we didn't mesh. How should I tell my new guy? Oh, this is a good one.
This is right up your alley because surely you run into
Yeah.
this all the
Oh,
time.
I'm dating 2 cousins by
Oh my
accident,
god.
and one of them wasn't even in LA. I moved to LA, and he was, like, explaining to me about where his cousin lived, and I was like, "Wait a minute, that was my old building," like,
That's
the more he
crazy.
described it, and then I found out that I had gone out with his cousin, but I didn't say anything till our first date.
Huh.
I've had, like, a lot of friends go out with guys that I've gone out with and vice versa, and even now, like, I'm single, I match with the same guy as my friends all the time. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it's a big fucking deal. I think the reality is that we are in a society today that we meet people very, very easily. It's literally every 5 seconds you swipe on someone and you meet someone.
Yeah.
So the chance of meeting people from the same social circle, even the same family, everything is really no big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think you just have to accept it. And if you're with someone who maybe they need like an adjustment, like the 2 cousins, this was before, like, Tinder. I met one of them on Tinder, but the one in Vancouver, I lived in the same building as him. Um, like, he laughed it off because the reality is, you just meet people online. It happens. It's such a fucking easy situation to be in now, and such a common situation to be on that, yes, it can be uncomfortable for 5 seconds, but I think we're in a society that you just have to accept it. Like,
Yeah.
I've also gone out with 2 friends, and I was hanging out with both at the same time, and I remember one of them took me to a party, and it was the other guy's house. I didn't know. So,
I knew you'd
I
have.
walked
I knew you'd have an anecdote about this.
well, I mean, I think the cousin one was way worse, like, but, actually, it was kind of funny. I'll tell you the cousin quickly one too. Like, he was, like, sitting at dinner, and he was like, "I have to tell you something," and I was like, "Oh," so we already know it was great. And then he said, "I told you my parents died in a car accident, but the truth is my dad killed my mom and then himself." And he thought that was, like, the worst, and I mean, it's a really sad situation,
Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that's okay. I'm not judging you. Just so you know, I've been with your cousin." Like,
Fuck.
that's how I
That got it. You're like, yeah. Since we're on the subject. Yeah.
since we're on the bomb dropping,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I was like, well, this is great. Like just into the appies, everything's out. Like,
Yeah.
it's just,
Fuck, dude.
but, but
Yeah.
the other one was a guy that I didn't want to be in a serious relationship with both of them. They it was pretty, like they're I mean, if you live in LA, it's pretty well known. Again, I don't say because there's a lot of stuff going on with Jewish stuff going on, right? But Persian Jewish people, so not like I know a lot of Israeli Jewish people and a lot of American Jewish people, they marry everywhere.
Hmm.
But from what I was and what I've experienced is like, and I even was told initially from my Persian Jewish guy friend out here, he's like, don't bother dating any of us because they will only commit to another Persian Jewish person or another Jewish person.
Right.
And so I kind of knew that going in. And so I met this guy and he was Persian Jewish. And so
Mhm.
I like didn't play like the dumb game of thinking it was anything serious. We weren't anything serious. We were hanging out here and there. It's not like we talked all the time. I don't want a relationship. He pretty much, without saying it, said that his family wouldn't accept me. I was like, okay, cool. And I had the same situation with another Persian Jewish person, but I was new in LA and I didn't realize that they all like their community is very small, big but small. Like they know each
Right. They
other
all
a
know
lot.
each other.
Yeah,
I
and
think there's a
so
lot of situations with that the religion background where it's just so difficult to sort of blend people together that I could see them wanting, and people want, and not to be, not that someone's being, what against anybody. It's just that I think it would just be so difficult to like
they
mesh
want
the
to
certain
preserve
cultures.
they want to preserve it, and I'm totally okay with it. Like I don't mind that at all. But like I was in the situation eyes wide open. It didn't bother me. But at the
Yeah, and
same
you weren't
time,
looking for anything long term, so you probably it's not as big a deal, and that's fine if like he's like that. And like I have a friend who's he's of a certain religion, and he would he would prefer to date people within that circle, but this like it seems to be like everyone in their circle gets married very young, and has kids very young, and it's just sort of part of the values of that culture. So he's my age, and he's like, "Well, I'd like to date someone in that circle." I'm like, "Well, what are the chances of that, right?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, it seems very unlikely that you're gonna, So you're either gonna have to be alone or accept that you're gonna meet someone outside of your religion, which is
I
fine. Like
think I
like their
think you
parents and stuff don't care about it, right?
exactly, and I think everyone is allowed to make their own choices. So it doesn't bother me at all. Like it doesn't even
Yeah.
slightly bother me. But exactly that. Like I met both of them online. I was hanging out with both. I didn't take either one seriously, but I go to the other one's house. He opens the door and I had just hung out with him the night before. We had gone to dinner, and so
Oh
his
man.
face just kind of dropped, and he acted like he didn't know me. He was trying to be polite about it, but the other one is. I told him like I can't keep my mouth shut. We went to get a drink, and I was like, "I know your friends acting like, but I'm kinda hanging out with both of you." And he was so mad. He was so
This
mad,
the,
and I
the
was like
second guy was mad about
the
it.
second one, the second one was like the one who brought me there was so mad, and I was like,
People are
"Were
funny
you?"
that way. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't give a shit. Like my wife's friends with her high school boyfriend they were together for like 4 years, or something like that. And he's a
yeah,
good dude. I don't mind him at all, right? And not in the last few years, but he's come to like him and his wife and their kids and stuff have come to things. And it's just like I think so much of it's security. It just comes
well,
back to
that's
being
exactly
secure, right?
it, and I remember being like, "Well, we met online. I met him online, and you're not and taking" he was like he's like, "Well, I would never." I was like, "You weren't planning on ever marrying me or taking." He's like, "No, of course not. You're not Jewish." And I said, "Well, then why should I stop myself from hanging out with other people?" Like,
Yeah, yeah.
But even if that wasn't the case,
He
even
wanted to be
if
the one to cut it off.
yeah, I mean, but even if, like, let's say, like, that was a situation, let's say nobody was Jewish and this was a situation and we were all looking for something serious. It's not a comfortable situation to be in, but it happens, and you have to accept that when you're meeting someone online, you're not the only person they're talking to, and there is a small possibility that they are talking to someone you know,
Well, it's
you
like you
know?
said, like it's the understanding that everyone's talking to other people until it's said otherwise, right?
Yeah, and you kinda know, like, there's, like, a time where you meet someone like, now I'm really looking for something serious, so if I go out with someone, we're having a good time, and then, like, we make plans again that week, like, let's say we hung out twice that week, even if I had a date with someone else, I may not go, but there's no expectation until it's kinda said otherwise, so if like, there was another guy that we had a date, and he'd also made plans with my girlfriend, and at the same time, like, neither one of us had gone out with him, but we both had matched with him, we're both talking, and then we're both kinda like, "Oh, I kinda made plans with this guy, I'm not sure if I wanna go," and she was like, "Yeah, me too," and I was like, "Let me see your guy," it was the same guy. So so it happens, and we both laughed, I mean, neither one of us went, but, it wasn't we could have both also gone too, because her type isn't my type, and so,
Yeah.
maybe, and I have gone on dates with guys too where they're not my type, but I have a friend that they really match with, and I say it, and I try to set them up because the
Yeah.
reality is, like, we're out there if you're looking for something serious, then why not, if it doesn't fit for you but fits for your friends, share it, and also, if you are looking for something serious, you're probably more active online, and again, you could, be dating more than one person, hanging
I
out
think
with
there's
more.
so much of it comes down to security and stuff. If you're secure in who you are and whatever, like it makes no difference. Like you just, but some people are very insecure as soon as some people are just outraged that someone would be friends with their ex or they've dated other
Mhm.
people or they have a lot of history or I don't know. It's not for, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean?
There's
But
still I always say there's some people still looking for that Virgin Mary in
it must
2023,
be.
Like
It must, and that's another thing. My friend who's religious is like, that's a big thing in their culture, right? Is you don't have sex before marriage, right? I'm like, I don't know who the fuck you're looking for, but like, you know what I mean?
Do you
Like
know?
you like these people get married at 20 because they want to get laid and their hormones are fucking driving them crazy, right? So they anyway, like he's in that circle. And I'm like, but everyone in that circle is married off and three, four kids on, off they go, right? I'm like, so you're 39 and you want to start finding a girl in that circle that's, assuming not had sex before marriage, or does that bother him? I don't know. Like, but it's just that's their religion is you don't do it before marriage, and he hasn't, to my knowledge, right? So there must be that must be what they're looking for. So I'm like, I don't know, like
Good luck.
good
But you know
luck,
what's
yeah,
funny?
best of luck.
I have two separate guy friends that both met virgins in LA that were in their late 30s. And
What's
the guys didn't want that. They actually both
Yeah, no,
were not
fuck
looking for
no.
that. But
I
they
think,
did
and
meet that.
obviously it comes across as like a desirable thing, but yeah, you don't,
They
certainly,
weren't desiring, they were looking for it, and it was actually a very hard situation for one of them. They ended up breaking up because he didn't want to get married without the experience, and the other one, um, I don't want to share their private stuff, but like, yeah,
yeah.
it's happened, but I've never experienced. I mean, the chance of something like that happening is rare. If you shouldn't expect it from someone. People have the right to make their own choice. 2023.
But if
So
you're on a dating site that's not specifically like a religious site, like, can you imagine going on a date with someone and finding like 2 or 3 dates in, they're a virgin and they're not having sex till they get married? You know what I mean? It's like, well, fuck me. Like, where does that leave us? Like, that's a big thing for people to, I think you'd really have to be in like I could see why these religious dating sites exist, right? Because the values
yeah,
are all the same, right?
yeah. I think that's fair. I think that's one of those big ones where, like, if you want to be an open relationship, that one should be up there with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Because it would be very difficult to meet someone at our age that's, a
yeah.
virgin and different things, like different value. I mean, those values are just within those certain communities. But again, those people get married very young, have kids and all that, right? So it's, yeah, you're looking for a unicorn there.
Yep. All right, so we're definitely over today, so we'll end it here. Next week, we're talking about online perceptions, and yeah, I mean, we kind of touched base on that a little today too. So
That we did.
yeah. All right, well, perfect. Have a great night, and I will talk to you next week.
Yeah. See you then. All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.